Now, this is a wonderful shelf and a very famous one too, because we're in Library Sandries right now. And this particular shelf is famous for Pellegrino Artusi. Now, Pellegrino Artusi came from Italy first, then he traveled over to India, and then finally Joga. So right here in the library, all these books are dedicated to the wonderful Pellegrino Artusi. Now, all these books tell about how he grew up, some of the recipes that he made, and how his life went. And the story goes that back in the early 1900s, he had a farming land, and he had to crop the olives. And it was hard work because there weren't any olives, because it was late fall, and fall there was no olives. So he took a lot of work to get all those olives out. Because in the storybook, it tells the story about him getting the olive. So this story is called The Difficult Planting. So we're going to read this, and I need you to be listening about how he planted the olives. Pellegrino Artusi grew up on an olive farm, and he had a tough life picking olives. But when he picked olives, he enjoyed it. He didn't know a season called summer. Summer he liked, but the brutal fall and winter was even worse. One day he had to pick olives. It was hard because the olives were hard and not ready to be picked, grown, harvested. But he tried his heart out until he gave up. He went inside to tell the mother that he couldn't pick olives. And the mother said, "Try harder." He tried harder, but they wouldn't budge. So, the next time, they all helped get the olives out. It was not fun, because the olives didn't want to respond, because the fall was making them stay under, because vegetables can't handle cold weather. At last, they finally picked the olives out. That evening, they were going to make an olive crostini. But that evening, when they looked at the olive had died, because that day there was a terrible winter storm, and it ruined the olive. It destroyed its wonderful beauty. And they couldn't make the olive crostini, or the olive-filled ravioli, or the olive-glazed chicken. Olives! There were no olives. Olives were their favorite food, so that was even more disappointing. Then the next day, Pellegrino Artusi had a terrible dream. He had a dream about the olives being gone. He looked in his dream, and he saw no olives, and he wept and cried. There was no crostini available. And when he woke up, he cried and cried and cried. Olives was his favorite food. They enjoyed olives, and they really, really liked it. But that day there was no olives available. They didn't like it. They weren't used to the fall and brutal weather. They kept searching high and low for olives, but all the olives had been taken and harvested by the neighbors that lived close by. Now that was the story of olives being gone. That's what the chapter was called. Now, I want to tell you that when he was fictionally good, then he found another thing to like after all the olives. So he went to an Indian restaurant and he tried a piece of bread. And he really liked it. He got it stuffed with some farro salad. And he really liked it. It was with chickpeas, with lemon, celery, and some feta cheese. And he tried it, and it tasted really good. Now this is the story about how you can make feta. So we're going to learn how to make the feta. So in this story right here, it tells you how he makes that particular dish with the pita bread and the salad that he tossed it with, that he stuffed it with. Now it's right here in this dictionary. Now this is what it says. It starts. One day, he wanted to go to a feta factory. He wanted to taste how the real way of having feta. He tasted a lot of different fetas, and he really liked it. And then he went into the factory and see how they made it. All they did was they added milk, cheese, milk, water, and then they foamed it. He thought that didn't explain his explanation, but he asked the waitress, "That's how we make it." If that didn't work, he went on to a pita bread factory. He learned how they made pita bread. All they had was some flour, some water and egg, and some salt and some pepper. That didn't explain a lot. So they wanted to know how they made the salad. They didn't have the salad either. Why was everything not available? He soon found out. An evil bat came in last night, and it killed them. And it killed them because it wanted them out. It wanted a peaceful. And with all those people, the bat killed all the people. So, he went to his kitchen and he made a version of pita bread. He made it on a kumar. And then he made some salad for stuffing. He tasted it, and it was even better than he expected. The flavor of the lemon, he said, the crunchiness of the celery, and the wonderful thickness of the pita bread was just what he had. So that recipe in that particular book is passed on because it became a very good dish, and then it got more popular, and then it became a really good dish. So when we go back to our kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make pita bread. Apiti liane rani.